Hi guys, it's Steph here from the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here to do the mid-year book freakout tag for 2020. This was originally created by Ellie and Chammy, and I will leave the links to their channels down below so that you can check it out. It is where we look back at the first 6 months of the year in terms of our reading, and then we answer some questions about it. There are 14 questions, so I'm going to jump straight into it. Question 1 is the best book you have read so far this year. The fact is, it's really hard to pick just one book. I've read a lot of really fantastic books so far this year, and I am keeping track of them, and I am going to try and have some sort of list by the end of the year. But in this instance, I'm going to talk about one that I haven't talked a huge amount on my channel, except for when I read and reviewed it, but I thought I would mention it again, and that is The Lost Man by Jane Harper. I fell in love with Jane Harper's writing last year. She's an Australian crime writer who writes incredible stories. She just uses language so effectively in her books, and this one is no different. This is not part of the Aaron Falk series, which is The Dry and Force of Nature. There is a very brief mention of the dry in this book, but it is sort of a blink and you'll miss it. It doesn't change anything in the story. But this is the story of three brothers, one of whom is found dead in the middle of the Queensland outback, and how the family deals with his death and the secrets and the lies and just general, family issues that people have, set amidst this very stark landscape. And it is just incredible. So if you like crime fiction, I highly recommend it. Question 2 is the best sequel you have read so far in 2020. That's kind of hard because I tend to read all over the place, but I was thinking about it, and this is actually a series that I started this year, and I did read the sequel, and that is Managed by Kristen Callahan. This is book 2 in the VIP series, which is a rockstar romance series, but this is actually about the manager of the band, Scotty, and he is just fantastic. He's a complete control freak. He micromanages everyone around him. Everyone is terrified of him until he meets Sophie, and it's a total accidental meeting on a plane where Scotty is terrified of flying and they don't know who the other person is, and then suddenly they realize that they're going to be thrown together in this long-term work relationship, but they have a mutual attraction for each other. So I really love this book. I desperately want to reread it at some point. You may hear about it again. Question 3 is a new release that you haven't read yet, but you want to. I really want to read Network Effect. I am going to be reading it in July, so that's coming, I know. And I also really want to read Elfen Night by Nalini Singh, which I have pre-ordered but has not shipped yet. Question 4 is the most anticipated release in the second half of the year. I cannot wait for Emerald Blaze, which is the 5th book in the Hidden Legacy series by Ilona Andrews. I am so excited to see how Catalina's story continues. It is urban fantasy. It is a world where the hierarchy of people who live in the world are the people who have magic and the people who don't, or who have less magic. And Catalina has a lot of magic, and her magic is awesome. She's like a siren. She has an ability to make people fall in love with her. The downside to it is they become obsessed with her. She was a side character in the first 3 books, and then in book 4 it switched to her being the main character, and I love her so much. I can't wait to see what happens next. Question 5 is biggest disappointment. That is Star Wars Alphabet Squadron, because I love the Star Wars books. I love the books about people who are in the fighter squadrons in the Star Wars universe, and this one really did nothing for me, and I DNF'd it. So it is by far my biggest disappointment. The biggest surprise this year was This Is How It Always Is by Laurie Frankel. This was recommended to me by Kathy from Kathy Trithart, and I adored it. It is about a family who have sons, but then the youngest son turns around and tells his family that he's a girl, and it is the fallout of that and how they manage their life after that, and how they support and how they don't support that decision, and the impacts that that has on this little girl's life. It was beautiful and heartwarming and tragic and just hopeful in the end, and I really loved it. I would never have known about the book had she not recommended it to me to read. I'm so glad that I read it, so that is the biggest surprise for this year so far. Question 7 is favourite new author, either a debut or new to you author. I'm going to go with Kennedy Ryan, who wrote The Kingmaker Duet, which is a political romance duet, and this spans the almost a lifetime of the 2 main characters in the series, who meet when one is 17 and the other is 24, and nothing happens then. They just have this attraction to each other, and then their paths cross unintentionally in a completely different country years later, and they have a week-long fling. Then their paths separate again. After that second separation, one of them suddenly realizes that the other is the son of her political enemy, and the whole thing sort of goes from there. And then you don't see them again for another, well, you don't see them again together for another, I think 10 or so years, something like that. So it is a beautiful slow burn romance duet with deep political leanings, a lot of stuff around the rights of Native Americans in America. It really makes me want to read more of Kennedy Ryan's books because I think she's a phenomenal writer. Number 8 is Newest Fictional Crush. That's sort of tied between Scotty from Managed and Josh from The Hating Game. They're both control freaks, so what does that say about me? Question 9 is Newest Favourite Character. I'm going to go with Lennox from The Kingmaker Duology by Kennedy Ryan. She was just a kick-ass, strong female character. She knew what she wanted, she went after it, and she was determined to get there. And I just appreciated that so much. I thought she was amazing. Question 10 is a book that made you cry. This was actually a picture book, Tibby and Jellybean, the story of two brave koalas who survived the bushfires by Sophie Cunningham. I read this month, loved it. It did make me tear up, but it was a gorgeous picture book and I highly recommend people check it out if you are into picture books. Question 11 is a book that made you happy. The Hating Game made me happy. Even though it's called The Hating Game, you would think that it would not be, but it is honestly just so much fun and so funny. Lucy is a cracker of a character who at times just appears to be completely bonkers. I adored it. I've read it 3 times this year. I will probably read it again, so don't be surprised by that. Question 12 is the most beautiful book that you have read this year, and that is The 10,000 Doors of January. It is a stunning, stunning cover. I wish there was something on the hardback, but there's not, so that will possibly mean that I go through and create something on the hardback at some point if I ever can work out what I would want to put on there, but it is a gorgeous book inside and out. Highly recommend it. Question 13 is what do you need to read before the end of the year? As always with every year with this question, it is quite literally the books that I still have left on my TBR that were purchased in 2019. I'm happy to report that that number is sitting at 21, which is a very, very manageable number, and I have great plans to read through those. And what's even cooler this year is that there are currently 21 unread books that I have purchased from 2020. So that leaves me with 42 books, physical books on my TBR that have been purchased in the last 12 months. That is not an unmanageable number for me. We are ignoring the fact that my Kindle has like 200 unread books on it, but the Kindle takes up this much space and the other books take up a lot of space. I'm hoping to at least get through those first 21 books from 2019, and quite a few of those books are actually all part of the same series, The Witcher Saga, because I bought it all at once. And finally, question 14 is who is a favourite book community member? And this is kind of hard to pick from. I've already mentioned Kathy in my video and I'll leave a link to her channel down below. There are so many people that I love following, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to shout out Kirsty from Upside Down Books because I think she is just so articulate and well spoken in her videos. She has great content. She's very intentional in her videos. She's a fellow Australian booktube community member. I love her dearly and I always look forward to seeing her videos. So I will leave a link to her channel down below. There are so many other people that I could shout out. Leanne and Beck and Kat and Megan and so many others. I'll try and put some links down below, so if you are looking for some booktubers, you can definitely follow them. So that is the 2020 Midgie Book Freakout tag. I hope that you enjoyed it. In the comments below, let me know which book has been your favourite so far this year. I would love to know. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you are doing well and staying safe, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.